If you are starting or running a business, then today I'm going to share some structure for your sales meeting. This will help you when you have someone coming in that might be interested in your service, but they also have questions or doubts. So this will help you really create clarity with them on their situation so they can understand why they're there, they can understand themselves better. From there, we can go into reasons to buy your service. We can see if they are ready to take that next step in their life. And if they are, then we can make a deal, we can help them, and we can make money in the process. So let's get into it. This is for small to medium-sized businesses and aspiring entrepreneurs, but also if you're a sales rep, this will be useful for you. So first things first though, before we can get to the meeting, we need to make sure we actually have good leads first. And this is where the marketing comes in to qualify the people before we even speak to them. So this is why we need good leads. This is why you have good word of mouth. This is why you do cold calls out to business owners, or this is why you do paid advertising for your service. Once you get good leads, you need to nurture them. So you need to actually call them up or contact them, SMS, email, phone. And we need to have a little bit of a chat with them, explore them a little bit. But mainly we just need to set the agenda for the meeting that we're going to have with them. So the better we do that, the better the quality of the leads is going to be on the meeting. So this is why I wanted to point out that, because you need to understand the better the quality of your marketing, the better the quality of your sales will be, because the people that are coming in will just be much better, or like they'll just be much more depending on what your business needs. So that's the first part. Now, once we are on the meeting, this might be like on an online video meeting, or this might be in person where you're going out to meet them. But first things first, like you just need to have some level of rapport with them. You need to be friendly with them, get them to feel a little bit comfortable. So just say hi, just ask how they're doing. Don't make this too extensive, but at the same time, it's still crucial to make them feel comfortable. Once they are a little bit comfortable, we can set the agenda. We can explain what's going to happen on this meeting. This is where we take control a little bit, but mainly we just do them to give them a good idea of what's going to happen and what they can expect. And this is really just the intro. It's just like 5 minutes or something. So from there, after we set the agenda, we go into the discovery. The discovery is the most important part of the sale, and this is really where the sale is made, because this is where we dive into their motivations, and we can really like get them to understand their situations, figure out what's happening in their life, why they are unsatisfied with what they currently have, and why your service might be something that could be able to help with that. So, of course, like that's the crucial part, right? So, to do that, you need to understand we split usually the discovery up in 2 phases. So, the first phase is data collection, and the next phase is the most intense part. It's really finding their why. But first, we go into the data collection. So, we've done the intro, we've made them feel comfortable, we've told them what's going to happen on this meeting, and now we get them to speak. We get them to tell why they are there. So they might already say this by themselves, or you just ask them like, hey, can you tell me a little bit about your business? Or hey, can you tell me a little bit about your situation? Right? So that's step 1, let them speak. Then once they've spoken a little bit, usually people will tend to stay at like a service level because they don't trust you enough yet, or they're just like, they just don't happen to be on the meeting. So now it's our job to get them to go to a deeper level. But really in this data collection part, we're really just getting clarity on their situation. So first, we're just asking questions to get clarity on their situation. We want to understand their situation in detail. So they might say, if they're going for a fitness offer, they might say, well, I want to get like a little bit of muscle and I want to lose some weight, for example. So we want to create clarity on that, like what are the things they have tried in the past, how much muscle do they want, what kind of like food or like supplements are they taking. We just really want to understand their situation in detail. And this part of this discovery, it's a fairly light part of the discovery. Like it's not intense. But we have to make sure that we engage our brain while doing this, all right? So it's not because it's not intense that we don't want to be present, because the questions that we ask here are going to serve as ammunition for the next phase. This is really how you're going to get your sale and how you're going to help them. So we need to find out more about their situation first. We need to ask targeted questions to get like a really clear idea of where they're at. And once we know that, once we know everything they want, once we know everything they've tried, once we know everything that we need to know, now we can move into the next phase and we can find their why. And this is a very intense phase, and this is where the sale is made. We now both have clarity on their situation. We know what they've tried before. We know why they're here, or like at least like what they want, but what are going to do to really change it, to really take that step, right? So for us to do that, we need to dive into their emotions, right? Because we need to get them to feel like they want to make a change. People just buy emotionally, and everyone does this, by the way. People will justify with logic, and they will say like, hey, this is why this is a good choice for me, and that is why this is a good choice for me. So the logic is still important, but the emotions are usually the most important part, because if they don't feel like it's going to help them, and if they don't feel like they want to change, then they're not going to make the sale. So this is the most difficult part. So for us to do that, first, we need to just ask about that. How does their situation make them feel, right? So in order to do that, usually you can't just ask that straight out. You can't just ask like, how does that make you feel? Sometimes you can, but it's difficult to calibrate it. So usually we have like some techniques to go into their feelings. And the most important technique for that, I would say it's two things. First of all, like it's the tonality of your voice and how you speak. Do you speak as if you understand their pain? And do you speak as if like you're suggesting that there is some pain there? So maybe they have they have been struggling for the past 3 years, and this is something you found out in the data collection. Now in the second part, you ask them about you've been struggling for the past 3 years, or you've been struggling for the past 3 years. You see what I'm doing with my voice? Now, I'm not doing it perfect right here, but the point is to give you an idea, and you should really pay attention to that, because that is how you're going to get them to hold space for them, and also how they're going to know that you're serious about this. So hold space for them to feel the pain of their situation and get them to reflect on it. Okay? So that is why the tonality of your voice is very important. Now, the second thing that's important is just to be very, very present with who you're speaking to. So you can't be distracted, you can't be drinking a glass of water, you can't be thinking other things. When the prospect is speaking to you and they're speaking about your situation, take all of that in, like really be present with that, because if you aren't, then you're not going to be able to help them. Be present with that. You don't need to have that much thoughts, you just need to experience what they're saying, and from there, usually the right question will come. And the more present you are and the better tonality you can have in your voice, the better you can help them, the better response you're going to get. So that's the first thing. Go deep into how that makes them feel and do not let them escape it. So once you have this pain, now you need to dive into, well, why they want to change. And this pain is going to create their why. But you still need to sometimes like ask that, like, what are some things that is going to change for you? Why do you want to make this step now? It seems like the situation is like a very painful thing to be in. What are you going to do about it? Maybe that's not the right question depending on the situation, but you need to figure out something where they need to make the next step. They need to have commitments. So you might need to ask a couple of questions for that. But the most important part is just to hold space for their pain, and then that will create usually the commitment. But you also need to pair that with some questions of like, why now, and like, what do they want to do about it, and things like that, right? So do not let them escape this pressure, because this is where the sale is made. Ask targeted questions, and if you feel like they're trying to escape it, then confront them with the facts if needed, all right? If you don't have the facts, or then you didn't do this part right, or you didn't get them to dive deep enough into their emotions. So really, this is the most important part for you, because this is really, if you want to create a transformation in someone, or if you're selling like an expensive thing, they're not going to do that. They're not just going to throw their money away, right? They need to have a reason to do that. And this is where we create the reason, or where we find out the reason. And for that, we need to be very present with them, and we need to create some kind of pain in them, or some kind of commitment in them to get them to buy. So do not forget this, because this is what's going to get them to buy. All right. So the next step is just a pitch. This is where they already decided that they're going to buy. Like they're already convinced that they need this, all right? But they haven't decided that they're going to buy it. So really what we have to do now is we just have to not fuck up. We just have to make sure that things go smoothly. So first we want to transition from the discovery into the pitch. So we want to create a summary on their situation We want to summarize things to show them that we understand their situation, give them an overview, and then ensure them that our service can help with that, and that you're going to show them how. So this is your time to speak. You should be confident in that. You should have some type of presentation, or at least like some bullet points to show them what your service can do for them. But at the same time, you also want it to be natural, and you want it to tailor it to the discovery you had before, and you want to tailor it to the person in question, right? So as you go to your presentation, your bullet points, your pitch, and you tailor it to the situation, as you go from point 1 to point 2 to point 3, you also want to be feeling out where the prospect is at in terms of buying temperature. They already know they need it because that was what your discovery is for. Now you just want to make sure that things keep going smoothly, right? If after point 1 in your pitch they say like, yeah, maybe, then of course that means that they're not really in sync, right? So then we need to calibrate with them. So we don't want to just throw the entire pitch at them. We want to divide it up into parts. We want to get some engagement with them along the way to make sure that we stay on track and that we stay in sync. So that's really it. We need to make sure that we deliver our pitch with certainty and some level of urgency. The discovery should already have done the most, but we still need a smooth plan to close them, right? So if we're not certain that our service is going to help them, then, it's not going to make a good impression, and you're going to have created pain in that prospect without then helping them. So make sure you do this in the right way. Make sure you give them the confidence they need, and make sure you can also fulfill that. Okay, so that's your pitch. Remember, they already should have wanted it in our discovery, but now it's just our job to not fuck things up in the pitch. All right. So the close is where you just tell them like, hey, the price it's £2,000, and you get this for that, you get that for that, and we make sure that you're guided well along the way, so that you can make more income, so that you can solve your problem, and that you can never deal with that annoying situation again. Then be silent. Now, as you've stated your price and your benefits, they might still have some last resistance. Like they should want it at this point, but they might still have some doubts. Like maybe they suddenly need to speak to their wife. Maybe they feel like they need to think about it. This is where objection handling comes in. But really, unless you are playing a close, heavy sale, which I wouldn't recommend unless your sale is very short. And so really, usually, the most objections, you should handle that in your discovery, because this is like the intense part where you really need to engage them. But at the same time, you still need to be quite present in the close, because there still might be things that pop up for them. So this is where you still need to handle that, right? Once you do, you just get them to make the payment and they sign the deal, right? Now they're fully committed. They're fully sure they want to go with you. They made a payment, they sign the deal, and we get to help the prospects and we get to make money along the way. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this gave you some structure for your sales meeting. Check out my next video, by the way, on sales if you want to dive more into that topic. And if you want this document that I've shared with you today, it's going to be in the link in the description. So check that out if you want. And I'll see you guys next time. Have an amazing weekend. See you later. Bye-bye.